Welcome to our deep dive. The world of high-level sports, it often focuses on those really spectacular moments, doesn't it? The finish line, the medals, those records smashed in slow motion. But what if the real secret, the key to that, like effortless perfection we see, lies in something much less visible? Today, we're exploring exactly that, the invisible preparation of athletes. It's all the stuff cameras rarely catch, but it's absolutely vital for peak performance. We've got this fascinating interview as our source material today, and it really shines a light on these behind-the-scenes practices. It highlights one method in particular that seems incredibly powerful, but maybe, just maybe, is a bit underutilized. So our mission is to unpack how things like breathing, alignment, and recovery truly make the difference, and what tool kind of brings it all together. What's really interesting, too, is how this isn't just for the elites. The source talks about it as a universal hygiene of life for everyone. And joining me to explore this is someone with a really unique perspective, actually. Their background as a former racer gives them incredible insight into these demands. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. And you've really nailed it there. That idea of invisible work is so true. We see the glory, the power, the speed, right? But behind all that, behind what looks spontaneous, there are just hours and hours of unseen effort. It's this foundation, like you said, built on really careful attention to breath, to alignment, recovery. These aren't just, minor tweaks. They're often what separates the good from the truly great. My own time racing absolutely drilled that home. Without that silent prep, you hit your limits way faster, and the risk of breaking down, it just goes way up.
That's a really strong point, especially thinking about what's on the line in elite sports. So, okay, if this invisible preparation is so critical, so foundational, what specific practice does our source material really point to as a key player here, something that ties these elements together? And maybe more interestingly, why do you think it might be, as you said, a precious tool that's still kind of underused? Is it about image, like of awareness?
Well, the source is pretty clear on that. Pilates. It's really highlighted as, one of the most valuable tools for athletes. And your question about why it's underutilized, it's a great one. I think it's probably a mix of things. Sometimes there's this perception, maybe that Pilates is too gentle or not hardcore enough for, elite power athletes, or perhaps it gets pigeonholed as just rehab, not performance enhancement, but its actual impact on core performance, things like injury prevention, better power transfer. It's undeniable. I suspect many just haven't quite grasped the depth of how effective it can be, so it hasn't fully made its way into all training regimes.
That is a fascinating disconnect, isn't it? Okay, so our source breaks down this invisible work into three core parts. And it starts with something we think we all do perfectly fine, breathing. I mean, we all breathe, right? But the source suggests there's a big difference in how elite athletes breathe compared to just existing. What is that? And why is conscious breathing so decisive?
It's true. We all breathe unconsciously. But inefficient breathing or restricted breathing, that directly caps your peak performance. It really does. It creates this subtle, constant drag on the system, hinders oxygen delivery, messes with neurological control. You end up fatigued sooner, feeling stiffer. It's like trying to redline an engine that's starved for air. The source puts it very simply. Respiration is the fuel of performance. Blocked breathing means stiff movement. Simple as that. And there's this really vivid analogy in the original interview from the French. It translates something like, as a horse, I breathe deeply through my nostrils. Each stride aligned with an expansion of my rib cage. It's a vital rhythm. That's not just poetry, right? It illustrates a really deep physiological point. That rhythmic deep breathing synchronized with movement, that's how you get optimal oxygen exchange, how energy gets delivered efficiently, how the body stays stable under pressure. And there are powerful lessons there for human athletes. The source argues breathing consciously with amplitude and regularity is to liberate one's movement, protect one's body, and keep one's mind calm, even under Olympic pressure. So it's not just about O2, it's control, fluidity, mental strength. When you can consciously manage your breath, you actually calm your nervous system, reduce tension, stay focused. And Pilates, this is crucial, helps develop exactly that. Conscious, full, regular breathing. It really emphasizes engaging those deep core muscles, like the transverse abdominis. And that allows for this specific lateral expansion of the rib cage. So you're breathing into the side and back, not just puffing out your belly. This isn't just breathing. It's optimizing how your diaphragm works. Maximize oxygen, calm the nerves. Think about a gymnast. If they master this through Pilates, they gain this incredible precision, this fluidity. Their complex moves look almost effortless. It's that invisible control making the visible performance possible.
That connection to natural rhythms is really powerful. And building on that foundation, another element you often stress, and the source highlights, is alignment. Like breathing, it sounds simple, but you're saying it has massive consequences. Why is proper alignment so vital when, tiny fractions of a second matter? What happens when it's off?
Absolutely. And yeah, this goes way beyond the racetrack. Without proper alignment, things eventually just fall apart. It's the bedrock. Think of it like a building. If the foundation's crooked or one structural beam is consistently out of whack, the whole thing's compromised over time. For an athlete, that means inefficient movement, sure, but almost inevitably it means injury. The source gives another really striking analogy. For me, a poorly shod hoof or a misaligned pelvis meant guaranteed injury. It's just a direct link. Structural integrity equals ability to perform without breaking. And for humans, it's exactly the same principle. A knee out of alignment, a shoulder rolled too far forward, and the whole mechanism goes awry. These little deviations, they seem small, but they force the body into compensation patterns. That puts stress on joints, ligaments, muscles that aren't meant to take that kind of load. And over time, that leads to chronic pain, lower performance, and makes you much more likely to get sudden injuries. And this is where Pilates is so effective. The method, as the source says, teaches how to reconstruct this fine architecture of the body. It's not about just throwing weight around. It specifically targets those deep stabilizing muscles, the ones around your spine and pelvis that often get neglected. It's different from just strength training. It's more like neuromuscular re-education, teaching the body to move efficiently from its core. That helps prevent those harmful compensation patterns. You don't see it in highlights reel, right? It's invisible. But it's what makes the difference between a movement that lasts and a movement that breaks. Take a runner, for instance. If they learn through Pilates to stabilize their pelvis properly, suddenly their stride is more efficient, power transfer improves, and maybe that chronic knee pain they've had just starts to fade. It's the silent engineering behind durable power.
That really paints a clear picture, these subtle things having potentially devastating career-changing effects. But okay, in elite sport, athletes are always pushing boundaries. Isn't some wear and tear just inevitable, regardless of how well you prepare? How does Pilates really differentiate itself, say, compared to comprehensive physical therapy, in actually preventing or mitigating these risks?
That's a really important distinction to make. Yes, at the absolute peak, some wear might be unavoidable. But Pilates acts as this powerful, proactive, and restorative tool, often before an injury gets bad enough to need intensive PT. Physical therapy usually comes in after there's an injury or some acute problem, right, to fix it. Pilates, though, is more about systematically strengthening that deep support system all the time, improving body awareness, restoring optimal movement patterns consistently. It's about teaching the body to move intelligently to stop that wear and tear from becoming a major problem in the first place. It's like continuous self-correction and strengthening. PT often builds on that, but Pilates can be that foundational preventative layer.
That makes a lot of sense. Prevention over cure. Always better if possible. Okay, and the third pillar. Recovery. We hear so much about champions training incredibly hard, pushing limits, but the flip side is they recover even harder. What does our source material, this deep dive, say about that crucial phase, the recovery part of the cycle?
Right, recovery isn't just downtime. It's actually active progress. The source really backs this up. Recovery is what allows the body to repair, adapt, and evolve. If you don't recover effectively, your body just can't integrate the training gains. It can't rebuild stronger. It can't adapt to handle more. It just becomes this cycle of breakdown without enough repair. That leads straight to burnout, injury, not progress. My own racing experience definitely showed that. The source mentions, after each race, I receive my care. Stretches, massages, rest. Without that, I wouldn't have lasted. That careful, consistent focus on recovery wasn't some kind of luxury. It was absolutely necessary to keep performing at that level. Exactly. Recovery is where the body's own wisdom kicks in if you give it the right support. And this is where Pilates really shines again. It's not just about pushing hard. It's about intelligently restoring the body afterwards. The source says Pilates restores mobility, releases tension, rebalances muscle chains. It's an antidote against wear and tear. Makes sense, doesn't it? When you push your body hard, muscles shorten, fascia can tighten. Fascia, for anyone listening, is that connective tissue wrapping around everything. And when it gets tight, it really restricts movement. And imbalances can get worse. Pilates gently but effectively works against all that. It helps an athlete get back their full range of motion, release that built-up stress, and rebalance their muscle chains. Those are the linked groups of muscles and fascia working together throughout the body. By improving proprioception, that's your body's sense of its position, and restoring structural balance, Pilates acts like a shield against overtraining issues. Think of a swimmer, maybe, using Pilates to organize their shoulder blades better. That specific work helps them recover from tough sessions, sure, but it also helps prevent things like rotator cuff injuries and improves their stroke long term.
Yeah, I can relate even on a small scale. Trying to hold a tough yoga pose if my breathing's off or I feel unstable, the whole thing crumbles. It sounds like that's magnified massively for an Olympian. It really shows how Pilates offers active recovery, not just collapsing on the couch. Which brings us to this idea of universal application. Our source material suggests you see Pilates going far beyond just elite athletes, right? What's the case for pretty much everyone needing this?
You're right. That's a key takeaway. The Olympics are an amazing display, yes. But the truth, as the source puts it quite boldly, is 99% of the world's population needs to do Pilates. Now, that might sound like a huge claim. I get it. But if you actually look at how most people live today, it starts to make a lot of sense. The exact same principles, breath, alignment, recovery that help an Olympian excel are just as critical for everyone else, just for different reasons, maybe. Think about modern life. Hours sitting behind a desk, repetitive movements, accumulated stress. That's most people, right? This doesn't just lead to aches and pains. It causes chronic pain, bad posture, low energy, and makes you more prone to everyday injuries. So while an athlete needs Pilates to extend their career, perform at their peak, the student, the busy executive, the parent, the senior, all need Pilates to breathe better, span straighter, regain energy, and avoid daily injuries. It bridges that gap between elite needs and everyday well-being really nicely. And that really hits on the core belief from the source. Pilates isn't just a sporting method. It's framed as a universal hygiene of life. A what? A pedagogy of movement that speaks to everyone, include. It teaches you to inhabit one's body with precision, to find fluidity, to breathe with consciousness. And that, the source concludes, whether you're an Olympic champion or a simple walker, changes life. End quote. It's fundamentally about having an intelligent relationship with your own body, understanding how it works, giving it what it needs to function well, whatever you ask of it. It's foundational.
That completely reframes it, doesn't it? From some elite niche method to a fundamental human practice. So we've unpacked just how vital conscious breathing, precise alignment, and smart recovery are not just for Olympic medals, but for a functional, less painful daily life. Okay, final question then. If you could wave a magic wand based on everything we've discussed from this interview, what's the ultimate vision? What's the dream scenario for Pilates and high performance sports, maybe even beyond that?
Oh, the dream scenario. The source paints a really inspiring picture there. Imagine a future where every athlete, in addition to their technical preparation, would take the time to realign themselves, to breathe, to strengthen their body awareness. It's a vision where Pilates isn't just, an optional extra. It's integrated, essential, part of every training plan, from the Olympic level right down to your local club. This isn't just about getting slightly better results. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about physical conditioning, prioritizing intelligent movement, not just brute force, and the impact. It would be massive. The source suggests not only would performances improve, but above all, careers would be longer, injuries less frequent, and the experience of sport more human. It points towards a more sustainable way to pursue physical goals, more intelligent way, maybe even a more joyful way, whether you're aiming for a world record or just want to stay active and feel good. So for you listening, just remember, breathing, alignment, recovery, these are your invisible allies. Whether you're chasing medals or just aiming for a more balanced, comfortable life, Pilates is there. It's a powerful tool for everyone.
That is a truly inspiring vision and a really perfect thought to end on for our deep dive today. Thank you so much for walking us through these fascinating ideas about invisible prep and the power of Pilates. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.